I believe Jesus wants us to bear much fruit, and He tells us how to do this, to surrender our lives to God. He wants us to have an abundant life, a blessed life, and He tells us the way to do that is to give up our will and love the Lord with everything that we have. In John chapter 12, verse 24, He says this, "Truly, truly, I say to you, unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it bears much fruit." Jesus was coming up on the final week of His life in John chapter 12. Coming in Jerusalem, acknowledging that He was the Son of God, that He was going to take away the sins of the world, and He was accepting praise as God. And He was trying to teach us this principle about living for God and bearing a fruitful life. That when we follow after God and His purpose and His plan, we'll actually have an abundant life. And we'll not only bless ourselves, but bless others. And so Jesus comes on the scene saying He has a purpose to fulfill the Father's will. And we see this happen on the cross. He goes right before He dies and says, "Not my will, Lord, but your will be done." And this seems crazy at first, but you have to understand there was for a purpose, it was a reason. So He gives this allegory, this illustration of a seed. Unless the seed goes into the ground and does what it's supposed to do, it won't bear much fruit. And it's truly a picture of Jesus, of what He was going to do, how He was going to die for the ransom of one, for the ransom of many, so that we could have life. But He also, this principle goes not just for His purpose the last week of His life, but for all of His followers as well. Because He would go on in verse 25 and says, "Whoever wants to find his life will lose it. Whoever loves his life will lose it." He was talking about surrendering your life, bearing much fruit. Jesus wanted His disciples to bear much fruit, to follow after God's will and not just their own will. And when we do this, we bear much fruit and we have an abundant life. There's a lot of joy and pleasure in following God's will. And it seems crazy because we have to die to our own self. The Bible exhorts us in our flesh to surrender our will and follow after God. And when we do this, we're blessed. And so I want to encourage you today, just as Jesus surrendered His will and brought glory to God and saved many, so should we. We should bear much fruit and surrender our lives to God. And when we do that, we'll be blessed and we'll be able to bless other people. God desires us to bear much fruit. And when we surrender our will to Him, we'll bear much fruit and have an abundant, blessed life.